Hello, everybody. Welcome into Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today, we have a great show for you. We had a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of stuff happen this weekend and earlier today. It was not a quiet sports weekend, which, as sports fan, we love to see. We're going to start it off with the NFL. There was a bunch of breaking news, contracts being signed this morning, franchise tags being given out, retirements happening. It was a big day in the NFL today. In the second segment, there's also a little more NFL news. They have been talking about making some rule changes. The competition committee, as always, does this every single season. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the proposed rule changes, what I think about that, and what effects it might have on the future of the game. Transitioning out of the NFL in our third segment, we're going to be talking about some NBA news. LeBron James hitting 40,000 points. Insane. But we'll get a little bit into that in topic three. And in our final segment, stick around for that, we're going to talk about some baseball. We're going to talk about the huge contract that was given out to Aaron Nola by the Phillies today. We're going to talk about some breakout stars, some youngsters, some prospects that have been really impressive in early spring training that might have earned themselves a roster spot or solidified themselves on that roster. And also some retirement news from Josh Donaldson. But before we get into it, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcspodcast.net, leave a tip or donation. Message will pop up on the screen. Stay there for a minute. We'll have a little conversation about what you put in there for everyone to see. And we appreciate anything you give, anything you can. Again, that link is gsmcpodcast.net. But let's just get right into it. Like I said, our first segment is going to be about the NFL. We're going to talk about the big news of the day. Mike Evans finally signed. He is the first major piece to be signed this season. Mike Evans, 2 years, $54 million, $35 million of it guaranteed. That is a huge contract for a guy who every single year of his career, 11 years straight, has had 1,000 yards. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is. It's just been an incredible streak by Mike Evans. He deserves to get paid, and a shorter 2-year contract there for him with the Bucs. So he's going to enter free agency again, get another little payday. It's a good contract on both sides. Obviously, as a team, the Buccaneers, you need to have this incredible wide receiver, probably a future Hall of Fame wide receiver in Mike Evans on your roster if you have any hope of repeating the success that you had last season. Obviously, him and Baker Mayfield, the connection that they had, the season that he had, especially down the stretch, he was incredible down the stretch. He was one of the top receivers in the entire league down the stretch of that season, putting up monster games, monster numbers. The Buccaneers needed to bring Mike Evans in if they wanted to continue to have the success that they had last year. Now, they did lose a lot, and there's a lot of people out there still for the Buccaneers to sign. They still obviously have to figure out the quarterback situation, dealing with Baker Mayfield. He's in a very interesting situation, and I've talked a little bit about this before. But the Buccaneers are kind of put in a situation. I hearken this back to Daniel Jones with the Giants a couple years ago, last year, I guess, when he signed that 4-year, $160 million deal. It feels very similar in the sense that you don't want to give a massive contract, a franchise-altering contract, to a guy like Daniel Jones, like Baker Mayfield, that don't have this proven track record of continued success. Baker Mayfield has had these before. Like, he did this in Cleveland. He won a playoff game in Cleveland, first time in forever, when he beat the Steelers in the wild card round a couple years ago. and Daniel Jones obviously won a playoff game and got that contract. He's done this before. He did it this year. He won another playoff game, made it to the second round. So it isn't the first time. So you feel a little more comfortable giving a guy like Baker Mayfield a contract. You feel a little more comfortable giving it to him than Daniel Jones, who just did it one time. But you still don't feel incredibly comfortable. You don't feel like he's definitely that guy. He's definitely going to be that person that we want to run our franchise for the next 5 years. The Bucks, and at least from the sense that I'm getting, they aren't set on that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of options to explore. You can definitely upgrade from Baker Mayfield, but you don't want to downgrade from him. So their hands are a little tied where they might have to give him that long contract. And I think what might be happening is a similar contract to Daniel Jones. The number that I've thrown out there, because he's going to want to get paid more than Daniel Jones, and he should, because he's better than Daniel Jones. 4 years, $170 million, and have it be a very front-loaded contract. I was looking through the cap numbers for the Bucks, and they have, including that Mike Evans contract, about $20 million in cap space this season. Now, there's a couple people that they can cut post June 1 to save a lot of cap space. Russell Gage is probably going to be one of those cap casualties. He's going to be designated, my best guess, again, this is not reporting, but this is just looking at the numbers. He has a $10 million dead cap savings. You can save $10 million against the cap by releasing Russell Gage. And I don't think Russell Gage is that important to the Bucks that he is worth that extra $10 million on the team. So I expect him to get cut post June 1 to make a contract work. But Baker Mayfield, my best guess, is a front-loaded contract, so you can move away from him if it doesn't work. So you can have that flexibility while also having that quarterback that has brought you success. That's what I think the Bucks will do with him and with their quarterback situation. But they have signed Mike Evans, locked him up, and I think that's huge. I think that was the single biggest move of their offseason. They still have the franchise tag that they can play. They still have a couple major free agents. We talked about Baker, but they have Antoine Winfield Jr., who just is coming off one of what should have been a Pro Bowl season. He was selected to the first team All-Pro. Antoine Winfield Jr. was as a safety. He had an incredible year, and he's most likely going to get franchise tagged. I know that's like the boogeyman in sports nowadays, in football nowadays at least, getting franchise tagged. But he most likely will get franchise tagged, and Levante David, their linebacker, I don't think he'll be in Tampa anymore. I think he'll go somewhere else. But we're looking at some more. The Bucks still have a lot to do this offseason. Obviously, it's still young. We've just finished the NFL Combine. The draft is still a ways away. The new league year officially starts 9 days from now. Mark your calendars. March 13th, the new league year officially starts. So keep an eye out for that. That's when a lot of moves are expected to start to happen, basically. There was already one announced today that will go official on March 13th, or a couple, one yesterday over the weekend. Alexander Mattison being cut from the Vikings. Does that leave the door open for them to go out and sign a guy like Saquon Barkley from the Giants? I think having Saquon on the Vikings is a really scary thought. You pair him with a quarterback, you pair him with Justin Jefferson. That's a duo on there, and Jordan Addison as well. KJ Osborne can hold his own in that offense. They get a quarterback and they bring in Saquon. I think they could. I think that would be a really fun team. But yeah, there's a. But March 13th, Russell Wilson has officially been designated to be cut. We all kind of saw this coming, but the news is official now. He is an interesting piece of this puzzle, this piece of this offseason puzzle for me. Russell Wilson is. It's one of those things that you can maybe call his time in Denver a fluke. But it's tough with how bad he was. You can blame that first year on you really can't blame it on Nathaniel Hackett. He was only there for like 6 games and he didn't play much better without him. Now he did make what I would call a drastic improvement last season. It was hard to be as bad as he was 2 seasons ago, but it still wasn't great. He still he got benched at the end of the year. Now, a lot of that might have had to do with his relationship with the team and with Sean Payton, but he is going to be gone. He is a name I expect not to command a big contract. I expect him to get kind of the veteran minimum. He's getting paid a lot of money. A lot of money. He'll clear waivers most likely and sign with whatever team wants him. Again, I keep talking about people going to the Vikings. If they can't get Kirk Cousins, I think signing Russell Wilson to a cheap deal and then getting one of those second tier quarterbacks in the draft just to be safe, I think that would be a really nice move for them. It keeps them kind of in contention, and it'll be if that happens, obviously, it'll be an interesting it'll be interesting to see how the public reacts to that because I think Russell Wilson, me personally, I think he still has a little bit left in his tank. Not I don't think he'll ever return to his Seattle form. I don't think he's ever going to return to, oh, I think I should get MVP votes for him. But I think he's still got some left in the tank. And pairing him with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, putting him in that offense, I think that'd be really good. Um, there's a lot of places he could go there. There's a lot of places, a lot of teams that still need quarterbacks. Um, but yeah, that is a little wrap up on some of the big news from the NFL today. In our next segment, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some new rules proposed, a lot of special teams changes, a lot of stuff with the kickoffs. We're going to talk about that coming up in our second segment. Talk about what I think of those rules, if they should be moved in, what are the pros and cons of this. In our third segment, we're going to move into some basketball, talk about LeBron James hitting 40,000 points, Caitlin Clark becoming the all-time NCAA scoring leader, passing Pete Maravich, Pistol Pete, and in the fourth segment, we're going to transition into some baseball, talk about some surprises from spring training, some of those young guys that have been performing really, really well, along with some of the major news to come out of the MLB today, including a massive contract for a pitcher. So stick around. We will be right back on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.